Throw Gang, we are joined by the Romance Raja, the King of Curls, the Film Pharaoh. Call him RFK how he's killing these scripts. Call him RDJ how he's delivering these lines. He's not the stepbrother. He's the brother who stepped up to the stage. He keeps it correct on his set. Gangs in New York. Call him Al Capone how he killed it in Chicago. You got dry dick, he got Dewey Cox. You got a soft 2, he got a hard 8. Not in school, but when he links up with PTA, he's changing these kids' lives. Oh, you're not fucking with his filmography? How about you film out Grab on D's nuts? He puts the antic and romantic. His prostate must be bipolar because the stream's going nuts. Call him Wayne Crooney how his songs got the mans united. His life thespian, your life pedestrian. The star of Cyrus, Miley. Getting big bills, O'Reilly. The music's hot and steamy, Hawaii. Got the comedic chops, Smiley. And the drama with a stiff upper lip, Kylie. Oscar-nominated actor and Grammy-nominated musician whose new album, What's Not to Love, is out on June 13th. John C. Reilly. John, how the hell are you?
I'm very good after that introduction. Holy cow, you were spitting rhymes there.
Try my best, bro.
Got some verses.
I got a potential EGOT in the building, you know?
Yeah. Gotta come correct.
One day.
I gotta get moving.
You're 0 for 4, honestly. So come on, let's pick it up. How you doing?
Actually, I was emanated. Are you supposed to win all those things to become an EGOT?
Yes.
So okay. Unfortunately.
Well, it was nominated for a Grammy,
Facts.
nominated for a Tony, nominated for an Oscar, and what's the S? No, E-G.
Emmy.
And not an Emmy.
Right.
Golden Globe.
That's not.
Yeah. EGOT. That's a G, isn't it?
No, Grammy.
Oh, Grammy.
Golden Globes, no one cares about those.
Tony.
So you got the GEGOT.
Okay. I just got
Yeah.
nominations.
It's an honor just to be nominated, though, right?
Yeah, it is.
Actually, it is. It is kind of better to be nominated than to win.
Really? Why is that?
Find all the pressure that comes with it. Like if you win, you're kind of like expected to deliver something really big next.
Speech?
You know,
Like a speech?
well, or just like the next job you choose has to be as good as your Oscar winning whatever. And if you're nominated, it just kind of gets you into the matrix.
Okay.
You know, like it tells people that you're there and you're part of the conversation.
I have arrived.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have anything written down at the Oscars when you were nominated for Chicago?
Well, that was a strange one because we had just gone to war. So I don't think I had anything specific other than to maybe thank the people that I did musicals with when I was a kid.
Oh,
and then
cool,
maybe
dude.
have like a moment of silence for peace in the world. But I didn't have to give that.
And there was no peace because you didn't get your fucking Oscar. That's
well,
what
Chris
happens.
Cooper won that year, and he was fantastic in adaptation.
Great movie.
Yeah.
Well, John, we want to thank you for joining
So a
us.
good guy won.
Yeah.
The good guys sometimes do win.
Mm-hmm.
We want to thank you for joining us. I have a question for you. It is a very humid, muggy day here in New York. Does your hair go crazy in the humidity?
I would take off my hat, but let me see. My hair
This is why you pay for the video, folks.
Yeah.
There we
Going
go.
brule mode over here, dude.
Because I'm sweating through my shirt personally.
How's that?
It looks great, honestly. It's kind of like, that's like a signature look.
I wish it did kind of go along with humidity because then I could predict it, but it's usually just on a schedule of its own.
Yeah.
You can't tame this beast.
No.
You can't cage this time.
You know, I used to try to tame it. When I was a kid, I really wanted straight hair. And I kept telling my mom, can't you like give me a brush? And I would brush it to the side. And I was I heard you could get your hair straightened. And I was like, I'm going to get my hair straightened. And then one day, this kid in my class, Joe Reilly, who had really kinky curly hair, did get his hair straightened. This was in 7th grade. And I looked at him and I was like, even as a kid, I realized that is the saddest thing I've ever seen. And I'm never brushing my hair again.
Right.
And I'm never going to get my hair straightened. And I literally stopped parting my hair on that day.
Oh, wow.
And I've never done it since.
Thank you,
Unless
Joe.
it's a character.
Whatever.
Yeah, shout out to that guy.
Yeah, I'm sure his curly hair came back.
Yeah.
You know, it was mighty kinky.
Well, John, before we started podcasting, you recorded something over there with the homie Isaac, and you turn and you go, so is this the Fits thing? And it is.
It is, yeah.
And what's the first thing we start off with, Lawrence?
John Christopher Reilly, the first thing we'd like to do is a fit check. If you could just quickly walk us through everything that you wore to Throwing Fits today.
Which
Fit
is
check. Well, this
exquisite
hat,
outfit.
You look great,
who
dude.
made this hat? I don't remember who made this hat.
Do you know the type of hat?
Yes, it's a Panama straw hat, fedora.
You're a hatsman.
I always wear the brim up. Some people do this, but that
Oh, there he is.
kind of makes you look like, I don't know,
Little
like
ranch,
your
eh?
weird old uncle on
Yeah.
vacation or something.
A Nazi hiding in Brazil, maybe Argentina.
Yes. But yeah, I'm not a Nazi.
He's not, to be clear. Sorry.
Yeah, and this is called a Wabash stripe denim. And I'm a big fan of it because it kind of looks like pinstriping, but it's like old school and has like a train history to it.
Very Midwestern Chicago.
Yeah, or Southern. It's a very popular fabric that they make overalls out of. But I'm a 3-piece man. I like to yeah, and I'm especially these days really into workwear. You know, like the kind of jackets and pants that like painters wear,
right?
Or carpenter pants or that kind of stuff. But you do it like in a 3-piece ensemble.
Elevated. This
is by this company. They're called Bronson, I think. Nice. Bronson Manufacturing. And
sounds hard.
There's a lot of these companies that you don't really know where they come from. It looks like maybe they took like a legacy name and bought the name or bought the logo and something. Anyway, they had a Wabash stripe 3-piece suit in my size. Fire. So they became one of my favorites.
Do you do like any work in your workwear, or is it just kind of like suiting in workwear fabrics?
I definitely do a lot of work in my workwear. I have another great, I just got a great work suit, like chore coat pants ensemble from Mont Saint-Michel in France. They were like one of the original workwear companies from France. And I actually work in a friend of mine's pottery studio. Oh, cool. I'm like his shop assistant. His name is Adam Silverman, and he makes these incredible giant clay pots and things. So I help him when it comes time to move things. I call myself the transportation coordinator, and I wear my work suit when I'm there, my chore coat. Yeah.
A lot of guys in New York that are doing like a similar thing. They've never lifted a finger in their life, so we just had to ask.
You can spot those guys, right?
No, usually drinking $9 cortados,
right here, baby.
I mean, I literally have worked as a carpenter, and I've done a lot of manual labor jobs, and I know my way around a complete set of tools. So.
That hammer loop is hammering.
Yeah.
Your pants don't fall down when you put one in.
What about the shirt underneath?
The shirt. I'm glad you asked, because this is one of my favorite. Well, in general, I've come to really love custom shirts. And there's this company called Anto in Los Angeles that has been doing it for multiple generations. They've been doing like every famous movie star, politician, mover, shaker, man for like the last 40 plus years or something. And when you go to their workshop in the Valley, they took over this old bank to set up where they make the shirts. And in the vault, they have the sizes for all those people. You can see Frank Sinatra's sizes. Oh, shit. Like his shirt measurements.
Right.
And when I did the Winning Time show on HBO about the Lakers, and I played Dr. Jerry Buss, it turns out they had Jerry Buss's shirt measurements there. And a lot of the shirts that I wore in that show were just like copies of what
big old collars.
Yeah. Very open, very body positive.
Fly with those collars. Do they have like young Marlon Brando and then like fat Marlon Brando? Like,
neck size went up a couple.
I don't know. But I know that the press that I got about those shirts, I think that was my proudest moment on the whole experience of that show. I think it was in Vogue. They said, let's have a moment to talk about the shirts on Jerry Buss or something. And she went through like how many buttons unbuttoned in this scene or that scene. And it was just this appreciation for the shirts, and they're still killing it there.
Yeah.
Anto.
They're doing better than Winning Time, if we're being honest. That was
yeah.
So custom shirts, is that a habit that came when you first got your first nomination? You're like, yo, I got nomination money now. I can do custom shirts.
Matrix money.
Well, it's one of those things like it's like rent or buy, like
yeah, true.
It really is.
True.
Like you can buy a bunch of shirts off the shelf or whatever, and they almost fit you. I mean, if you know how to fit yourself in a shirt, you can, because sometimes you have it's not just the sizes but the cut of the shirt. The different brands fit differently. Some of them have all this room, some of them don't. So if you can fit yourself, you can get yourself pretty dialed in on a shirt off the shelf. But
no, it's the move for sure.
Yeah, those custom shirts, they don't last very long. First of all,
right?
They end up kind of getting uncomfortable. I mean, I had used to buy a lot of shirts from Brooks Brothers, and the top of the collars would just start wearing out, and I was like, wow, this is actually a cheap shirt. Like,
yep.
But if you go to a place like Anto, every single time you put it on, you're like, this is my shirt. It even has my
yeah?
It's monogrammed?
Initials. Yeah, but you go low key.
Sure.
Right.
You see it?
Tonal. Yeah.
Tone
Look
on
at that.
tone.
JCR.
The nice tonal stripe on that bad boy too. To kind of
Yeah, that's
match
the other thing. You
pinstripes.
can go through. They have all these fabrics. You
Yeah.
can pick all these different fabrics. And so what I'm saying is, if you can invest in the front end of your clothes,
Right.
or you can invest in the back end, and like
Your pants.
by having to replace all these lame shirts that you bought from Macy's or whatever.
That's growth. That's
Yeah.
wisdom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's true. You
about
know,
the-
and
We talk about the kerchief
The
real quick.
the
neckerchief.
kerchief,
Yeah.
yes. What about it?
Who makes it? Where do we get one?
I don't know.
Is this like a sartorial
These are
move that you've been-
everywhere these days.
Yeah.
I like a kerchief. I actually started wearing them when I made this movie, The Sisters Brothers,
Mhm.
because I used to think like, oh, it's like this cowboy accessory,
Mhm.
and they would like rob banks by covering their faces
Right.
with their kerchief. But really,
It's 'cause
it's
of COVID.
actually a very practical item. Number one, it keeps your shirts cleaner,
Facts.
so you don't get the grime on your collar.
Yeah.
When you sweat, and a lot of the sweat coming off your head is heading down your neck and into your, then this thing catches it,
Right.
right? And then through the evaporative process of water, you get cooled off by it.
Mm.
So even though you think
Science.
like people look at me and like, oh man, how can you be wearing a 3-piece cotton suit and a kerchief also? I'm like, well, actually, because of the evaporative process of water,
Of the ensemble.
Right.
it's like I'm a walking air conditioner, you know.
You are.
And then I realized, like, when they put it over their faces, it was also a very practical thing for cowboys because they were just trying to keep the dust out of their noses and
That's
their
why they never had
mouths.
COVID in the Wild West.
Exactly. Yeah.
See?
Maybe
You're a master of form meets function. That's what I'm learning.
Yeah,
art and science.
I actually do. That is, you're onto something there.
Thank you.
I do think when things function really well and you understand the function of your clothes and how things are supposed to work.
Right.
Like, for instance, I don't know what this is for. I haven't figured.
The throat latch.
But really,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, there's two buttons on
Two
this
of
side.
them there, though.
Yeah.
And there's
To keep
two
it extra taut.
And there's two buttons here.
Yeah.
Oh well, there you go.
It's kind of like a
You've
protect the
taught me
wind.
something about my own clothes.
Because if you were
What
working
about
around,
this one? What about this? This
That's just a
angular button.
oh, the angle. Yeah. What is?
Yeah.
I don't know.
What is that?
Fuck. Let's
Stumped
find
you.
out.
Okay.
What about
Anyway.
the
but-
boots, John? Look, these are
The
some
boots. These are
fantastic
some of my
boots.
favorite boots. I
Yep.
started
There it is.
wearing these before winning time, but I realized they were the perfect boot for Jerry Buss too. These are by a company called Lucchese
Oh, the best.
Classic.
in
Classic.
Texas.
Mhm.
A little boot called the Jonah.
You comfortable right now?
Very comfortable. Very comfortable.
Feel free to. Yeah.
Yeah, I
That was a
love
good-
a
that's a
cowboy
yoga move.
boot, but they
Really?
can be a little hot
Yeah.
going
Sure.
up all the way up your leg.
Right, right.
this
And the
is
side
kinda-
zip is easy access too on those, you know?
Exactly.
What
Love
about the last but not least, the panties? What are we
One of
rocking
you had
today?
a pair of ankle boots on.
Same. Yeah.
Was that you?
That's me, baby.
Yeah. Where did you get yours?
Those are from a little brand called Our Legacy. Our friends have a brand in Stockholm.
Yeah. We'll send you a
Oh.
link.
Yeah.
They're really
Those are
versatile,
the first
really
ones
good.
that I've seen that look anything like these.
Really?
So I
Yeah.
was like, huh.
Yeah.
We're on the same
Definitely.
page, brother.
Definitely check those out.
John,
yeah.
what are the panties of the final piece
The
of the
panties?
ensemble?
Yeah.
My underwear?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. What do you wear?
Okay. So this is something I spent a lot of time researching.
Good.
Zimmerly.
You better.
Have you guys fucked with Zimmerly
No.
Tell us.
underwears?
No.
It's
No.
like the best underwear.
Really?
Yeah?
Zimmerly's?
Zimmerly.
Is it
I think
American?
It must be Swiss or
Okay.
Swiss
I don't know.
engineering.
Someone from over there. And then Hanro is
Oh,
one
yeah,
of my
yeah, yeah.
favorite
Yeah.
t-shirt
Yeah.
companies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really good.
Classic.
Also Swiss or Swedish
Yes. Oh, here's another
or
kind
Finnish.
of weird, kind of bougie legacy brand that you may not have heard of. Not many people have, but I have it on good authority that the King of England buys his socks from here. It's in Rome, and it's a place called Shostal.
Yes.
Ooh.
You have heard of it?
Yeah.
You're just pretending.
No,
They make
I have a
the
friend
most
that buys-
amazing pajamas, which
Mhm.
I'm obsessed with pajamas too. Because when I'm not in a 3-piece suit, I'm in pajamas. Like
A full
I
suit.
don't have a midway point. I
Right.
have formal and
Right.
pajamas. Like
Right.
you can just sit either end of the spectrum.
Uh-huh.
yeah, I
No
just
in
at a
between.
certain point, I started. It was around the time that I did the Sisters Brothers. Actually, I always liked dressing like this, but I'd get like self-conscious, like, what are you, some kind of cowboy from the 1800s? Like, come on. And I thought, you know what? You're an eccentric person. I had like a major health scare where I was like, you know what? From this point forward, I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want to
Fuck
do.
yeah, dude.
I'm an eccentric person. I'm going to dress like an eccentric person, and I'm going to dress to enjoy myself.
Love
you know?
that.
So
Pajamas.
I forgot where I was going with that.
It's like I saw the light at the end of the tunnel, and then I just realized pajamas.
No,
You're an eccentric guy. Like, so this health scare happened. You're like, you know what? I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want. I'm going to wear pajamas and three-piece suits.
3-piece suits. Yeah. Anyway,
how else? Like, what else in your life kind of manifested or came to be from that I don't give a fuck anymore attitude after this health scare? Besides your sartorial endeavors.
Oh, I know what I was going to say.
Okay.
Thank you for reminding me.
He just bought you some time.
That's my job.
Yeah.
I was stalling.
At a certain point, I remember when I was growing up, my father was in the Korean War, but he was very much of the World War II mentality.
Mm-hmm.
Like culturally, he identified with those guys more in a way than men of his own generation. So he's very old school. And I remember growing up and seeing what he wore and how he dressed every day. And then as I got older, as I moved past like 21, 22, 25, 30, 35, I found myself around 35 years old going like, why am I still dressing like I'm trying to look like I'm 21? I'm 35. And then I thought, did my dad ever dress like he was trying to dress like me? And I was like, hell no. My dad was like, I'm a grown ass man. I'm not interested, no offense, in baseball hats or t-shirts with writing on them. I'm a grown ass man.
Yeah.
I've earned the right to dress how I want.
Trying to dress, not read.
If it's going to be formal, it's like own it, own who you are and own the gravitas that you've earned. So at a certain point in my life, I just decided, you know what? I'm just going to dress the way I want to dress. And all of a sudden, I started getting all this attention about the way that I was dressing and invited to things like this to talk about fits.
Yeah.
Really, GQ wrote an article about me a few years ago. It's like, John C. Reilly is a style god.
What went through your head when you saw that?
Yeah.
I was like, thank you.
Goddamn motherfucking
Because it took a lot of effort. It was the year I went to Cannes. I had like 4 movies there. I'm going back, I think, this year.
Yes.
But I had like 4 movies that year, so I was everywhere. So it was like a joke how many red carpets I was on.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, if you're going to do that, why don't you just like roll like the ladies roll, like get some gowns. I knew I wasn't wearing gowns, but get some looks, LEWKS,
Yeah. Hell yeah.
And then it just paid off. I was like, wow, they actually did notice that I brought a cane to Cannes with a duck's head on it and a 3-piece white linen suit and a few different kind of hats. I do want to talk about hats because there are a couple great hat companies in the world
that
you may or may not be aware of.
How many hats do you own? What do you think?
Well, sadly, a lot of my own personal belongings have perished in a fire. So I used to have quite a few hats. I've saved some real special ones to me in the scramble before the fires happened. But there's a company in Italy called Peroni Hats.
Do they make the beer?
They have been making. They don't make them for sale. They won't sell you one. They make them. They've been making body armor and chest plates and hats for like 100 years.
Okay.
Like every major movie from like Cleopatra to Lincoln with Danny Day-Lewis, the hats or anything leather or armor wise is from these people. Peroni. And they gave me a couple hats when I was there. I just made this spaghetti western there called Testo o Croce, Heads or Tails, which is the one that's going to be at Cannes this year. Anyway, that's an amazing company. But to me, the best hat makers for men in the world, to me, is a company in Chicago, on the south side of Chicago, called Optimo Hats. This guy, Graham, took over this legacy African-American hat shop on the south side of Chicago. This old guy taught him how to do it. That guy passed away. Now Graham has this empire of Optimo hats. He took over an old fire station on the south side of Chicago where he builds them. He has a beautiful showroom in downtown Chicago. So for my money, Optimo Hats is pretty great. There was a great hat store in Altadena called Wellama, but unfortunately they got lost in the fire also.
Is this your preferred hat style? Because you are a man of many hats.
I do. Yeah, I like this style. I like almost a Homburg style with the center crease like that. Anything too pinchy or too... I don't know. There's
Do
been a lot of bad hats in the last 15 years. A lot of
You
this
don't
pork
say.
pie action.
Oh yeah.
You have to understand the geometry of hats to really
and how it goes with your face too,
Yeah,
right?
of course.
exactly.
It's like sunglasses.
So there's this oval shape, right? And then the distance of the brim is very specific to the shape of your face and the measurements of your face. So
You know what
if
this
you
sounds
sa-
like? Art and science.
yes,
Once again.
You're a
Art
scientific man.
and science. Yeah. Well, if you go to a good hat store, they'll be able to fit you, not just like the hat fitting you, but
Right.
they'll look at your face and be able to tell you, oh, you should go with a little bit of a wider brim, or your
Yeah.
face is more almond shaped, so don't go too wide or whatever. And a lot of times when people are like, oh, I don't feel comfortable in hats. I like hats. I think they're cool, but when I put them on, I feel like, and I was like, well, I always tell people that is the whole secret to wearing hats is just own it. I know this thing is on my head
Yeah.
and I'm okay with it.
Confidence is key.
And the guy at the hat store told me it fits my face real good. So,
Well, he's trying to sell you a hat. So.
Yeah, but it's come on. It's,
Well,
No, it does. It
You're
does.
working-
It's your
you're
look.
working
It's your
it,
look. You look great.
and every old school city has like an old hat store.
Right.
New Orleans has a great hat store whose the name it escapes me right now, but you know, those kind of places, like there used to be a bunch of them on Delancey down
Yeah.
here
Mhm.
where the Hasidic guys would buy their felt hats. That's where I used to buy my hats when I lived in New York.
is there like a rare hat that you're like on the hunt for? Like that has proven elusive to you?
Well,
Your white
well,
whale?
hats are like, they're in a way they're kind of disposable because, you know, they wear out or they get sweaty or whatever. And so to me, the ones I'm always chasing are the hats that I already had that wore out. And
yeah.
like, even with a place like Optimo that has been making, I think this might be from Optimo. Anyway, those kind of places, like they're like fashion, you know,
Right.
they don't have this ribbon anymore. They had it when they made your hat and then that's it.
Right.
So the hats I'm always chasing are those kind of hats.
The ones that got away.
Yeah, there's a great hat store in England, in London, called what the hell's the name of it? It's like 700 years old or something. The store, and they have this incredible machine there. So if you ever see, like, I wore a bowler hat for Stan and Ollie, this movie where I played Oliver Hardy, and bowler hats, you know, by nature they're like hard as a rock, you know, and if you just put on a bowler hat off the shelf or whatever, you would quickly discover you'll have a headache because it's going to be squeezing your skull in places that it's just pinching too hard in one place and a little too loose in another place. So there's this French guy who invented this machine in the 1800s, and they have one at this place. What the hell's the name of it? It's not Churches. That's the shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Benchmade. We can look it up.
Just look up oldest hatter in London and it will pop up. Anyway, they have
Lock
this
and
machine.
Co?
What?
Oldest-
Lock and
Lock
Co.
and Co?
Yes, Lock.
Yep.
John Lock hats. Yes.
Yeah.
So-
Lock and Co. Hatters on St. James.
Yeah.
Founded in 1676.
God damn.
I'm not kidding. Like, it's been around.
Yeah, we believe you now.
So this machine that they have in there was invented by a French guy, but they essentially they put this thing on top of your head. It looks like an oval shaped typewriter or something.
Fuck. Medieval torture
And they
device.
put it on your head and it has all these crazy like metal fingers that come out from around it. And they put it on your head and it measures the exact shape of your skull. So if you got a little divot here or your mom dropped you in the back and it's
Right,
flat
yeah.
or whatever, like it makes this perfect map of your head. And so then they put this little piece of paper on the top of this machine and it punches the pattern, the perfect pattern of your head. And then that's like a key for the machine. So if you go to Lock and Company, they have all these patterns from famous people framed in there. I think mine's in there, actually.
Really?
Oh, wow.
John C. Reilly, Shakespeare.
So then they take that little map, that little key of the shape of your head and put it in this other machine that does the steaming. And then it has each one of those dots, each one of those perforations is a setting for these different arms on the thing. And then it sets it in the perfect shape of your head. And then they steam like a bowler hat.
Yeah.
They steam it so that then when you put it on,
It's perfect.
it's the exact
Like a glove.
shape of your misshapen skull. You know? And
Beautiful.
it won't give you a headache.
Damn.
Anyway, I do
Phrenology
love
used
hats.
for good.
So you like
honestly.
hats,
I love hats. It's kind of an actor's cliche to like hats, but
really? Oh, because you wear a lot of hats.
Oh, well, yeah, I don't know. It's like
I thought it was masks.
it's like a cliche in movies.
Right.
Trying on different hats in the mirror.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't like this one. I like this one. Hey, this is wacky. It's like
Damn.
Do you own more hats or more clown paintings?
Well, this is another sad fire question.
Oh no!
Oh, bro.
Yeah, but at this point, I own more hats than clown paintings.
This
But I
one you
used
don't
to
own
have
much.
about 150 clown paintings.
Oh
Yeah.
wow! What's the most you've ever spent on a piece of clown art?
Probably I bought a series of 7 by the same artist. They're all amateur painters that I collect. I bought that was about $3,500 on eBay for all 7 of them,
So is
which seemed insane at
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah.
But
It still does.
But I saved those. I saved those.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And you're
clowns, yeah.
supporting, unknown artists, right? Not unknown, but not like it's on Jeff Koons.
Well, we're going off on a tangent here away from fashion, but I will
That's
talk
okay.
about clowns and clown paintings if you want to hear about them.
Oh,
Yeah, that's why we
we're
asked.
not
So-
only fashion guys.
So here's
We
what I
contain
love
multitudes.
about clown paintings, in particular amateur clown paintings. So when you are a clown, and I used to be a clown when I was a kid, and you could argue I still am a clown. Some of the work I've done is definitely clownish.
Oscar nominated clown.
But oh boy, I hope this car alarm goes off.
no, it's not picking up.
Yeah,
Please
it's fine.
ignore it.
Okay,
if you
good.
can.
So clowns, when you discover what your makeup is as a clown, I have tons of clown friends now still in LA. There's a whole clown scene.
Community. Clown
Yeah.
community.
I'm not you laughing, but it really is a thing.
Are they like an insane posse of them? Like
No, not juggalos, like clowns, like people that are into. It's basically
it's an art form.
a very
Yeah.
physical form
Yeah,
of
yeah.
improv in a
Right.
way.
And comedy.
It's not. Most of them don't even
Right.
wear makeup. But anyway, so when you are a clown that wears makeup, the way it goes is that you go through this kind of spiritual vision quest when you're learning to be a clown to see who you are as a clown. And eventually one day the makeup kind of appears to you, or you start trying to find who you are as a clown. And then you find it. And then that's you. And it's like this taboo thing to take another clown's
Okay.
makeup design.
Right, right.
So
Their identity.
The reason I love amateur clown paintings is because there's these 3 levels. And then the one level, there's the design of that clown's makeup. So that there's like an encapsulation of that clown's personality. Then there is the interpretation of an amateur painter's version of that guy or girl's clown makeup. And then the paintings I love the most are where you see the person inside there too, through their eyes or through their emotion. So there's these 3 levels of the graphic design of the clown. There's the interpretation of that graphic design. And then there's the real person peeking out through that. And I don't know. I personally found it really fascinating.
That was deep as hell.
Yeah.
I just learned a lot about clowning.
Is your eBay just like set?
You should check out this woman, Natalie Palamides.
Natalie Palamides.
She has a special on Netflix called Nate, a one-man show. She's an incredible clown. She has a new show she's been doing. She's in London right now doing it called WEER, WEER. Anyway, she's a boss clown.
Yeah. Boss clown.
What was your clown name?
I had a guy named Cletus who was like a country bumpkin.
Cletus
And
the
then
yokel.
Yeah, he's kind of like wore a plaid suit and he had buck teeth. He's like, well, hey, I'm just in the city. How much does it cost? Like he was always like a really gullible guy.
Sure.
Like,
Yeah. Got any hats?
You said that bridge is for sale? How much is it? I got $50. And then this other one I did was really like an homage to Emmett Kelly Jr., Emmett Kelly, the famous hobo clown.
Right. What was your makeup? Your identity?
Well, the Emmett Kelly one was almost exactly like Emmett Kelly.
That's
I got pictures of it somewhere, but
taboo.
And then what was Cletus looking like? Besides
Cletus
the
is
buck
like
teeth and the
big red mouth and like this crazy shock of orange hair and a plaid suit. And
Did you audition for for the Joker movie or anything? Like since
no, I was asked about that first one, not to be the Joker himself, but
and you're like,
no.
if I'm not the Joker, I'm not going to be in it. I'm a real clown.
Yeah,
This is beneath
I don't
me.
know.
Yeah.
I had just done Sisters Brothers with Joaquin. I was like, I don't know if we want to follow up Sisters Brothers with
Yeah,
us being clowns
Yeah.
together.
it's an intense guy.
You want to know how I got these hats?
Yeah.
I do want to ask about kind of swing back to your fashion. So both your sons, Leo and Arlo, they're both really into fashion. Like on the modeling side, designing clothes. Have they helped you with your swag? Like, is that a conversation you guys are engaged with together?
Not really, no. I have always encouraged my sons to like find their own style, like, and even with me, I'm like not sitting here advocating that everyone should wear this, like I wear this because it makes me happy and I think it's fun to wear and it just makes me comfortable.
It's like finding your identity through your face paint.
Exactly.
Your makeup.
Yeah. In a way it is. It's kind of a spiritual, it's a very personal quest, like finding what it is, finding how you want to represent yourself to the world. You know?
We preach that. Here on
my
the
one
Fits.
son, Leo, actually went to fashion school at one point and he designs a lot of his own clothes, or he'll take things and cut them up and add them together. But
so they haven't really. So this really is like your own. The result of your own journey. It's not like the kids being like, "Yo, Dad, you should check out." Like,
no, in fact, this whole idea of like having someone else give you swag or having someone else style you, I think is really lame. I have to say,
preach it.
I think this whole idea, like you see these things, like there was a famous event recently here in New York City where people were like strutting around as if it was the Hunger Games. Dressed in these crazy outfits, some of them very beautiful, some of them very well made. But for the most part, when I see someone, if you can guess who someone is wearing, that's a fail to me right there. If you see someone wearing a great outfit, you should go, wow, you look amazing. How can I do that? Or how did you pull that off? Not like, you look Prada, or whatever, like it's just so, I mean, people that have no style love to be dressed by labels because they don't have to think about anything. They have these sort of professionals turn you into a billboard. And a lot of times when I see people in the fashion press or on red carpets or whatever, the clothes are wearing them for sure. That you're not really learning anything about who they are. You're learning about, this is what Gucci thinks is cool this year.
Right.
And here's this person dressed up like a doll in Gucci. Yeah. That's not to say that, those clothes aren't good or the designers aren't brilliant. And, look, there's a reason that fashion has stayed so popular. And these things are compelling to look at. And it's an evolving art form. I'm not throwing shade on that stuff. But I think personally that the world would be a lot more interesting and a lot more beautiful if everyone took their own style as their own responsibility.
Hell yeah.
And if you just kind of picked and choose, if you wore a Gucci hat and this jacket from a thrift store and then these Lucchese boots or whatever, and you put it all together, now you're making a style statement that's you. It's an expression of who you are. I have a friend, this guy, Joey in Los Angeles, and he's a designer, not a clothing designer. He works in like, scenic design and stuff. And he always has the most amazing looks, but it'll be like an old bucket hat turned into a Peter Pan looking hat. And then like, he just finds the craziest, oldest stuff. He never buys anything new, but the way he puts it together with a handkerchief here and this weird little thing, that little thing, you're like, oh my God, you're the most he's one of the most fashionable people I know, one of the most stylish men I know. And I tell him that every time. I say, Joey, I know I'm wearing this whole getup, which I bought, but to do what you do requires real style. Any monkey can be dressed by someone, but to really understand what makes your body look cool or what evokes a certain style that you admire, like that takes time. You have to invest in it. And I think any of the big fashion houses, any of the big designers would agree with me, actually. But because of the way the marketplace works, celebrities dressing in your clothes is one of the best ways to get your stuff out there. And I understand why people do it. But I mean, personally, I think people should take more pride in their personal style and not let the marketplace or the trend tell them. Like, I didn't start wearing this stuff because of a trend. I started wearing it because like I just was laying in bed one day. I was like,
in pajamas.
What would be really cool is like, instead of Wabash stripe overalls, like a Wabash stripe 3-piece suit. That would be cool. Where do I find that? And then you just pull stuff together and you find it. And then all of a sudden, someone watches it or takes a picture of it and like, this is the new trend.
Style God.
It wasn't. Yeah, exactly. But it was just me going like, what really feels like an honest expression of
Your
how
curiosity.
I want to move through the world.
Yeah.
It's a
you know?
journey.
Were you ever?
This is important stuff to talk about.
No,
Billy.
absolutely. We
Because
are always.
It's about human beings. It's not about commerce and industry and status. It's about like human expression. Like that's really
A
important.
true
right
artist.
now.
A true artist.
Did you ever find yourself kind of caught up in the marketplace where you were just like wearing the clothes that you were told to wear?
Definitely when I was younger, and I have a lot of sympathy for younger people coming into the world of entertainment and stuff now. Like it's just kind of a conveyor belt to get you out there, and I understand that. And I come from a super working class background, so when I first was coming up into movies and stuff, and people cared enough to dress me, a place like Prada willing to give you 5 free suits. And you're like,
5. Shit.
if you're from the south side of Chicago, you're like, hell yeah, can I have a belt too? It's like it was like a dream come true to have these fancy clothes all of a sudden and be accepted, in that way, in that style world. But once you grow up a little bit and you understand like more about who you are, why not just express yourself instead of this whole thing of like borrowing clothes for an event and like having to give them back? This sounds really sad to me. Like you wouldn't believe the places that I've passed on.
Really?
Yeah. But I'm not going to throw them under the bus. I'm not going to.
So anytime we see John C. Reilly on the red carpet now, that is your outfit that you put together from your brain and from your
I would say
own personal self-expression.
With some exceptions, like things like tuxedos.
Sure, yeah.
Black
I'm not going to
tie.
get a custom made tuxedo because whatever, you want to kind of go with the times and trends do change in that way. Although a nice shawl collar or something like some of those things will never change
Classic.
in my book, know. But I would say if you did like a Google image search of me, John C. Reilly wearing a suit, I'd say the last 10 years, almost everyone was a custom made suit.
Fire.
Hell yeah.
From people in London, this weird guy named David Saxby, who had a shop in Putnam that would make these incredible, like, he was part of this whole movement in London called chappies. People that wear like the old fashioned tweeds with the velvet trim on the collar and stuff and ride bikes and
like penny farthings? Like
not penny farthings, but like it's like an old school English gentleman kind of look. But without
with
the politics.
Brooks, like the Brooks leather saddle and like the
exactly.
like
exactly like that. So
British hipsters.
yeah, and a lot of times these things will dovetail with what I'm doing. Like when I was getting a lot of those suits made, I was doing this movie with Will Ferrell in London, and a lot of my characters' costumes were these tweed suits, and I was like, well, I already have a guy. So all the suits I wore in that movie were from this guy, David Saxby. And then when I was doing the Sisters Brothers, it was like these cowboy looks, and I was working with this brilliant designer, Milena Canonera, like who worked with Stanley Kubrick, for Christ's sake. Like, so I had, this amazing style goddess advising me about what was right for that period in the 1850s. But then I also thought like, well, I don't want to just be wearing like a tracksuit when I'm at the hotel and then come to work and pretend to be a cowboy. I want to feel like this all the time.
Yeah.
So a lot of times it dovetails with what I'm doing.
Method swag.
Yeah.
Method swag.
It's emotional for you, clearly, which is nice. It's refreshing, honestly.
Well, it is, isn't it? The most personal thing ever.
We agree with you.
Like what you decide to wear
You're
every
speaking
day.
our language.
And sometimes, it really, who is that woman? There was a woman, I think she's Canadian, a famous designer. I heard this incredible interview with her on the radio where she talked about contemporary clothes and what it means, like what you're really saying. Was her name Meredith something? She's a very famous costume designer. I should know her name. I'm embarrassed to say. I'll get it to you. I'll get it to you.
Cool. It does sound like you pull a lot of inspiration, or at least like you get to explore new avenues of your sartorial curiosity through your characters that you played throughout the years. If you could only dress in the wardrobe of one of the characters that you played for the rest of your life, who are you choosing?
Well, I'm a big fan of the 1920s. Those looks. Mm-hmm. So, Chicago the musical. My character was very much in that. In fact, I loved that character, Mr. Cellophane, so much Colleen Atwood designed that costume with me in cooperation with me. Like, I was like, I think it should be more like a vaudeville clown. And so we had this great collaboration about it. I still have that costume, by the way.
So not Reed Rothschild.
I mean, I'm a child of the 70s, so I do appreciate those looks.
You look awesome.
I love
Boogie
wearing
Nights,
them. I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah, right? Sex symbol.
Hot as hell.
Yeah.
I love wearing those
Scoot
clothes.
these jeans down lower.
Yeah,
like,
right.
who I see myself as is more kind of a throwback, someone with more of a vintage feel, like someone who doesn't listen to podcasts.
You're an old
dream.
soul. You can just say that. You don't need to be
Someone who
mean.
does not have any social media at all
Right.
in their life, other than for my show, which I don't maintain or whatever. But
So don't DM that.
Let's talk
account.
about that show. So Mr. Romantic, right, has
Yeah, so I was gonna-
is in like the vaudeville style
Yeah.
of theater.
yeah, I did that character, Mr. Cellophane, and it was this big splashy movie, and I got a lot of attention for it, and then it just ended, and there aren't that many musicals made. And I thought, like, what a shame. Like, I really liked doing that, and people seemed to really respond to it. Oscars seemed to like it.
Oh, the Academy.
Anyway, I was kind of pining to go back to it because, like I said, I grew up doing musicals from the time I was like 8 years old. And I thought, how can I do that? And I was meditating about it for years and years, maybe 15 years. And every once in a while, I'd hear a song like, ooh, that Irving Berlin song, What'll I Do? That is a song in that character style. And then I realized all the songs that I was picking over the years for that project were all romantic songs. They're all about love. They're all about like wearing your heart in your sleeve, a lot like Mr. Cellophane. So I started calling him Mr. Romantic. And now we have this album coming out of all these American songbook standards. And I have this sort of vaudeville show that I do that really has like an empathy mission where I kind of just, it's the whole show is like a meditation on love.
Right.
Could you be loved? Are you lovable? Could you love someone forever? Here's another question the show kind of asks. Exactly. I've been married for 32 years. Could you love someone you don't know?
Oh, big question.
Can you
would hope
love
so.
someone just because they're a human being? You know, it's a silly kind of playful vaudeville show with all this music and goofing around.
Right.
But the questions that it asks are those questions, which end
Big
up being really deep.
questions.
Yeah.
Have you been surprised at how much this show has resonated with people?
Oh
Like,
my gosh. We just did our biggest show in Austin recently at the Paramount Theater during South by Southwest. And I'm telling you, man, it felt like the audience was literally like a sponge. Just like anytime I said anything like, I love you, or I see you, or look how many beautiful people there are here tonight, you could just feel people like, oh, they're so sick of being beaten up by the news and the bad news and the war and the degradation of human beings. Like to come to a theater and feel like you're part of everyone there. And the person on stage cares about you. Like it's a real tonic for the times. And I started doing this about 3 years ago, and it's gotten even more urgent, this mission, since I started doing it. So, you know, it's a break-even thing.
Right.
It really is.
Not a money maker.
Well, only
don't
because
say.
I do it on a small scale, and you know, like, you know, it's like covering songs from the 1930s is not going to make anyone a bajillionaire. Like,
Right.
but the point I'm making is like, I decided like, what can I do to help the world? What can I do myself? Well, I can sing. I like to sing. I can dance around. I can make people laugh. I can tell them I love them. Like maybe that's what I contribute. You know?
Thank you for your service.
It's clown. It's clownery.
It's definitely clowning.
Yeah.
Fully clowning. So yeah, that's what I decided to do. I don't think there's any other actors of my experience or reputation who are out there doing a vaudeville show with live musicians.
How do you
Correct me if I'm wrong. I wish there were more, but there aren't.
Steve Martin-esque?
Steve Martin, one of my all-time heroes.
GOAT.
We have the
GOAT,
same
for
lawyer,
sure.
actually.
Really?
I don't think
Your lawyer Eskimo bros.
I've never met him.
Really?
I've never met him because it was
Might
one
be
of those
listening.
people like
You sue him.
I could have,
Right.
but I was just so, especially, I really wanted to meet him after I read his autobiography, Born Standing Up. But then I even just resisted that because I just think like when you hold people up like Bob Dylan, like I've been offered the chance to meet Bob Dylan before, but we have the same birthday. I hold him in such high regard that he's a very important person in my psyche, and I didn't want him to be a human being. I didn't want to
He needs to be a god, an untouchable.
burp at dinner or whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
Scratch his
I just want
ass.
him to be that important person to me, and I think maybe he would even appreciate that. You know, like just let me be, you know, who I am to myself, and I can be who I am to you. And that's fine. We don't,
which is Dewey Cox probably to Bob Dylan, if anyone. Yeah.
He was really nice about Stan and Ollie. He went on and talked about it on his radio show about how much he loved Stan and Ollie.
That's amazing.
And I listened to that recording, and it was like the first time I realized, like, Bob Dylan knows who I am.
That's so tight.
And I started crying, like, immediately burst into tears. Like, so anyway, yeah, Steve Martin, one of my early heroes. I literally made my own arrow through the head when I was a kid in 7th grade.
Classic bit.
That was the first concert I ever went to with Steve Martin. I mean, I was obsessed with Steve Martin. I knew all his records, all his jokes, everything. He formed the kind of absurd sense of humor that I have, I think. So yeah, and Steve Martin is another person who's not afraid to step out of his lane.
Yeah,
and, you know me as this movie star, or you know me as this comedian, but guess what? I can play the banjo, and I enjoy playing the banjo, and maybe people want to hear me play the banjo, so I'm going to do that. You know, I love that. I think it's really important that people feel like just because the world has put you in a lane doesn't mean you have to stay there. And in fact, I think the world would be a much richer, much more beautiful place if every single person did the things that they yearn to do secretly. You know, sing that song or write that poem.
Buy that suit.
Yeah, or design that suit for that matter. You know, like find a fabric. There are so many tailors out there that are dying to make you a suit. Or even if you bought a suit that doesn't quite fit you and you're like, well, I could just roll up the sleeves. Go see a tailor. They need the work.
Seek professional help. Truly.
Yeah, and then it will be perfectly, fit.
Your armor. Yeah. How do you have so much love inside of you, John?
Well, I don't interact with social media. That's the first thing.
Okay.
Step one.
Noted.
Right. I mean, you're not wrong.
Honestly, I do.
Deleting Instagram right now.
Yeah. Sometimes, like when I do these interviews, not you guys seem perfectly normal, but sometimes,
thank you.
Sometimes when I do these things, when people who heavily traffic in social media, and I'm not judging it. It's like, that's a great way to make a living and whatever. But you can see sometimes people are like, wow, what is it about this guy? He seems like on another wavelength altogether. Like, and it's because I'm not following that. In a way, I'm like walking around through the world completely blind because I don't know what everyone else is obsessed with. All I know is like, the world is still out here, you guys.
Yeah,
like,
right. Come join me.
Regardless of what's trending, like there's real life to be had out here.
Yeah.
So how do I have so much love inside me? Like I just don't think there isn't much choice. If you want to be alive, like I think honestly, I don't know why.
We feel it.
All I know is like I try to be honest with myself and I try to do I don't know, there's just something maybe it's Christian or something. I was raised Catholic. Do unto others, treat your brother as you would treat yourself. Like
golden rule, baby.
That's just good advice. And it makes civilization work.
You were a naughty little boy growing up. How badly did your Irish Catholic dad beat your ass for stealing 500 boxes of cereal from a train?
My dad never found out about that. Thankfully, and he never will.
Okay. All right.
There was a railroad tracks that went straight through my neighborhood in Chicago, and they would often stop. And I figured out through my older brothers, like, you could just go up there and take a rock, and bash off that padlock, and then who knows what's going to be in that train.
500 boxes.
And so when I finally got the nerve to do it with my friends, I crawled up on the embankment, smashed this lock off, which is a felony already right there.
Statute of limitations. You're good.
For you kids at home, though, thinking about doing this, it's no joke to rob a train, but...
You are a cowboy, dude.
I smashed this padlock off and we pulled the door open and it was fucking sugar corn pops from floor to ceiling.
Let's go. The mother load.
And we took like 500 boxes, but there were probably 1,000 more boxes on that train. And luckily my friend Bobby Zajac lived right next door to the railroad tracks. So we made like a fire bucket brigade from the train to his basement window and just moved 500 boxes of sugar.
How many did you eat?
Eventually, that was the problem because I couldn't really bring a lot of them home because my mom would be like, "Where the hell did you get this cereal?"
Yeah.
And after a while, we'd have cereal parties in Bobby's basement.
Wow.
Where we'd go and like help ladies with their groceries at the grocery store for change. Then we'd use that change to buy milk. And then we'd go and have a cereal party back at Bobby Zajac's house. And then eventually I don't want to have to go to Bobby's house every time. I'm going to take some of these home. And then my mom was like, "Where did you get this?" And I was like, helping ladies with their groceries. She's like, "What? Spit it out." And I was like, no, just never mind. I stopped bringing them home.
Smart move.
All right. Well, you
skated.
But I told you I was born Catholic, raised Catholic.
Yeah.
And right around that time, confession, which used to be this kind of scary thing in a dark closet where you didn't really see the priest and, what have you done? And you'd admit your sins and you'd make up some very lightweight sin so you'd have something to say and not really say the real things.
Right.
Well, after Vatican II or whatever, some kind of reformation of the church, are like, we're not doing confession in the booth anymore. Now we're going to do face-to-face confession where it's just you sit in a room with the priest.
Yikes.
And I was like, oh, shit. And I walked into this room. And there's the priest, this guy I know very well from church and stuff. And he's like, so, they would say the regular rites and stuff, these kind of little prayer things. And then, what have you done? And sitting there face to face with him, I just could not say I took the Lord's name in vain, which is what I usually said. I was like, I robbed a train. I couldn't lie to him face to face that. And his first thing he said was like, "Well, there's a felony, right?"
He was familiar with the legal system, clearly.
So priests, if you say I murdered someone, I think they have to tell the cops. But any other felony,
I murdered this cereal.
Yeah.
And then he was like, say this many Hail Marys, say this many Our Fathers, and give $20 to the poor basket, not the collection basket in church, but at the very back of the church was a hungry kid in a picture, and you're supposed. And everyone knew if you put money in that basket, you really fucked up.
Right. You're like, can I give him some cereal? Yeah. I don't have any cash, but.
So I was like, $20? You might as well have said $2,000 at the time.
You had to go steal some more cereal and sell it.
And I remember I was so guilty, though. I said as many of the prayers as I could. And then I lost count. I think that was 10 Hail Marys. And then on the way out, I just reached in my pocket. I had $3.17, and I put it in the basket. And you could right away, people are looking at me like, "Oh, what did you do?
You fucked up."
So I owe Jesus $16.75 somewhere.
He's keeping track for sure.
Well, look, I'm glad that we're glad that you pivoted careers from petty criminal life to acting, right? And you put together
really crime. It was just we were bored,
No, it's crime.
Crime of
we
boredom.
would call the police pigs and throw rocks at their cars just to get them to chase us. We didn't really care about what the cops did. We just wanted to have fun.
Yeah.
And we knew they would not catch us because the way we knew the neighborhood and stuff.
Yeah, petty crime. Yeah. But in your storied acting career, you've worked with a literal who's who of legendary directors. We just want to do a little game of rapid fires. We're running up towards the end of our time here.
Okay.
We just want to know, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when we mention Brian De Palma?
Brian De Palma, that was my first film. I was 22 years old. I met Sean Penn on that film. Who became a real protector of mine and someone that advocated for me for the next two movies after that. So thank you, Sean. I owe my whole career to you and Brian and Art Linson. So also the first time I took an airplane, I met my future wife on that movie who worked for Sean.
You didn't want to take a train. You had train trauma.
Train what?
Because the petty crime of robbing a train.
Just it's a callback.
No, it's because it was in Thailand.
He's like,
no trains to Thailand.
Train to Thailand.
But anyway, I could talk a long time about each one of these, but that was a major change. It was the first time I'd ever been on an airplane.
That's
Were you
crazy.
scared?
Yeah. No, I wasn't very scared, but I remember I was in first class at one point for one of the legs, and I was looking at this menu, and I turned to this guy next to me, and I was like, "Excuse me, sir, can you tell me what a prawn is?" And he's like, "It's kind of a big shrimp."
He looked at you like you were a Cletus, the yokel.
Yeah. Speaking of
elegant guy.
Speaking
Nice.
of planes, Tony Scott, you were in a car in this movie or around cars, but
Days of Thunder. Yes,
Yeah.
one of 2 NASCAR movies that I made.
That's right.
Mhm, that's right.
Not many people can say that,
No,
nor would they want to.
Tony Scott, R.I.P. to the God.
Yeah,
what, do you,
Tony
what do you
Scott,
think of?
like one of the, I mean, God rest his soul. You know, he died in tragic circumstances.
Fire flick.
Yeah.
Incredible.
What?
Fire flick. Days of Thunder.
Fire flick.
Shout out TC.
Yeah. So Tony Scott was like one of these people who like, I'm almost like a throwback, like John Ford or somebody like just out there. We're going to do it. Yeah, man. Go, man. God. Like he just made everything so fun. And you just felt like you were really accomplishing something great every day with Tony.
Incredible.
Paul Thomas Anderson.
Paul is still one of my best friends.
Yeah.
I'd made 3 movies with him. Yeah, I don't know what was the question? Just
what do you
like,
think?
Do I
of?
know him?
'Cause
Yes, I know him.
He was so young when you filmed Boogie
Yeah,
Nights,
he
right?
was.
Like that's
he was
crazy.
the youngest person
And
on
he
the
was another,
set.
he was another guy that was kind of like a big proponent of you as an actor.
Absolutely,
serious
yes.
actor.
He was one of the first people that saw like. I think the first movie I made with him was originally called Hard 8.
Yeah.
It's really called Sydney, but it was my 13th film. And he was the first person of all those directors I worked with before him. He was the first person who said to me, like, oh, I know who you are. You were in this, and you were in this, and you were in this, and you were in this. I'm following you, and you have more to do. There's more. You can do more than you've showed any of these fools. And I don't know if he called them
I
fools.
don't think he called Tony Scott a fool.
Definitely would not have called Brian De Palma a fool. But anyway, yeah. So that's another person that moved my career in this whole other way. Like I'll be forever indebted to Paul professionally, but also just in so many ways personally too.
The
Our
homie.
families are so connected and
Nice.
everything.
Shout out PTA. What about Martin Scorsese? Marty. Good old Marty.
Martin Scorsese, another legend, you know, like it's one of those like Paul, or like Terry Malick or like, you know, so people like that. When you're on their sets, you're like, well, this is the coolest place in the world to be for sure. Here in Rome with Martin Scorsese making Gangs of New
You're in the
York.
5 points.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, people like Polanski, like you just can't believe how good they are at the job, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Something that you're kind of guessing at how it all works. They're like Picasso with the paint,
Right.
you know, like Marty can tell a story with just the composition of a shot, you know, let alone the script or the actors or whatever. Like, you know, it's another interesting thing that's similar between Paul Anderson and Martin Scorsese is they both love actors. And when they're watching you act, they sit right next to the camera and you can tell they're paying attention to every little thing that you do. And that seems like an obvious thing for a director, right? But you'd be amazed how many sets where the director's thinking about so many other things.
Right.
And as an actor, you feel like, is anyone watching the scene?
Can I get some notes over here?
Kind of the whole point of us getting to this moment was the acting of these scenes. Anyway, so you just feel really cherished by
Right.
those guys.
What
That's
about
awesome.
actors? Like, we want to know who's the most fun actor to hang out with. Just to kick it.
To hang out with.
Yeah.
Chill hang.
Well, Will Ferrell is pretty fun. I mean, he's not like on all the time like a comedian. He's just a really decent person and someone I still feel really close to.
Like
Joaquin is a blast. to
Yeah?
hang out with. Yes. He has this like intense reputation and stuff. But once he trusts you and once you get to know him, he still can be pretty contrary at times. But yeah, he's just one of those people you're like, I mean, I'll always feel like that guy is my brother from the time that we spent together there on that movie.
I saw somebody asked Will Ferrell what's the line that gets like people shout at him the most. What's the line that you get shouted at you the most?
I mean, it depends, but Boats and Hose is pretty popular.
Sweaty from watching Cops, I feel like is might be up there, right?
Yeah.
Did we just become best friends?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, this one time I was in an airport with one of my sons when he was really little, and he had not seen Step Brothers, and we're standing there like in this shop, kind of looking at a kiosk, like the milk or something. And,
For the cereal, obviously.
and it was like in the airport, whatever Hudson News,
The
or
airport milk aisle.
looking at Well, the milk and juice.
Yeah,
whatever.
Dairy section on
He's
the
a little
news.
kid.
I already go off on enough tangents. Don't distract me. So I'm standing there looking at it with my little son, and this girl just silently sidles up next to me and goes, "Do you like guacamole?" And I was so shocked. I'm like, "What? What? Yes, I do." And she's like, "No, with the movie." And I was like, "What?" And she's like, "Stepbrothers." And I was like, "Oh, okay.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, okay." And then my son was completely confused, like, "Dad, why did she ask you if you like guacamole?" Like, it's a long story. Never mind. Someday when you're old enough to see
when you're old enough to watch a rated R movie.
that is a strange one when young kids come up to you about that movie.
Sure.
Like, "I love that movie." When you're like, "You're out of your fucking mind." Like, you're 10 years old.
Who
dude.
raised you?
Chill.
Chill out, bro.
Chill.
Go rob a train.
Yeah. Do something normal, like commit a
Yeah.
felony.
John, what's the most romantic thing anyone's ever done for you? Bring it back to romance real quick.
The well, this is not going to sound very romantic, but it was when I realized that my wife must really love me,
Okay.
which is I got audited by the IRS
Okay.
at one point, and I thought I was having a nervous breakdown, and I didn't have any of these records and stuff. I was just kind of winging it, you know?
Yeah.
And I think what happened was I made much less money one year compared to the year before, so they came after me thinking I was hiding money or something.
Fucking IRS.
And I remember just sitting there like writing fake video rental receipts and putting coffee stains on a diary from 3 years before that I bought.
Aging the
yeah,
documents.
literally like fixing the documents.
Committing another felony
And
as
I
we
was
want
just
to
sitting
do.
there, and eventually I just like started to shut down. Like I was like, "I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this." And she's like, "I'll help you. I'll help you." And she sat down with me, and I was like, "Oh my God. Like, number one, I would never do this for you." So the fact that you're doing it for me, this is like the most awful thing that I could ever think of having to do.
Yeah.
You're doing it for me. Like that was very deeply romantic.
Let's
Bonnie
in
and
its way.
Clyde.
commit tax fraud.
Yeah.
together.
And I got out of that with no change.
Woo.
Very much.
Hell yeah.
Skated once again.
Shout out Steve Martin's lawyer.
Yeah.
That was actually my accountant.
Well, okay.
John C.
out all
Reilly
the,
is above the law.
shout
That's
out all
what
the
I'm learning.
CPAs,
You're above
yeah.
the law, brother.
and on the flip side, what's the most romantic thing you've ever done for your wife? You know, you are Mr. Romantic.
Well, one time when she was sick on a vacation, I hired a mariachi band to stand outside the hotel window and play for her so she could experience that.
How much was that?
I don't know. You'd have to ask her. Like,
Okay.
I don't know what I
You never helped her.
What's the mariachi
skate?
band run you? What is that like? What does that cost?
I don't know. It's pesos. Who's
Did
counting?
she?
You know?
Was she like, what the fuck? I'm sick. I'm trying to sleep. Shut this mariachi band up.
She said, "Oh,
Okay.
she wanted to come with to the dinner," and then she couldn't, you know. So I brought the dinner to her.
Yeah.
Kind of like,
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I should think about that some more. What have I done?
You are
that?
Mr. Romantic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's in the name.
That's just an act, though. No. And in a way, it is. And I say I'm joking, but in a way, it is. It's not me. Like John C. Reilly is Mr. Romantic as a show. Is I really play this kind of mythical person, and it gives me a lot of freedom on stage because then people are not going like, "Well, does John Reilly think that?" Or it's this character that doesn't know about the past. He's living in the moment, trying to figure out what's happening. You know?
Yeah.
So the kind of distance from me is a good thing.
Do you wish you could have that where you're just like completely cut off from like you just are?
If I was really, I don't know. I just went to a friend's birthday who turned 100 years old.
Holy shit. You got some old ass friends, bro.
Yeah. And my friend's son told me, she's a lot happier these days because she doesn't remember anything.
Oh, that's
The
so
dream.
sad.
Like all the,
No, that's the
all the
dream.
traumas and things in her
Okay.
life that used to bother her, she doesn't
Yeah.
think about it anymore. So she's a lot happier. And I was like, well, that's good for her, I guess. But there is something really sad
Yeah.
about it too. In a way, the things you've endured and the hardships that you've had and the struggles that you had are like a gift in a way, because in a way they make you unique.
And who you are.
Straight
All
up.
the little nicks in the table are the history of that table.
Yeah.
Our last question for you, John, before we get you out of here. And we want to thank you for coming on to the only podcast that matters. Now that we've spent an hour together,
Mm-hmm.
I think
We
just
haven't
become best friends?
really
I think so.
got into fashion, really.
Oh, we
You were
got
pre-
into
you
so
were
much
prepared.
more. We want to know, do you have any constructive criticism that you would like to give us?
Bring it on.
Tucking your shirt.
Okay. Respect.
No, not right now. Just in general. Like,
Okay.
I went to a boys' Catholic high school, and one of the things I used to have to wear a tie every day, dress pants, dress shoes, a button shirt, and everything. And if we went to a dance, they would always tell us, "Don't take your jacket off at the dance. You look like a schmuck."
Oof.
And
They used
I still remember that. And when you're at a wedding or something, and you see guys dancing, they start taking off their jackets.
Tie around their head.
You look like shit. Like, even if you're hot, keep your jacket
Leave it
on,
on.
man. It's part of the look. Like,
Yeah.
and I also think like I think people should make an effort, especially on airplanes. Make an effort. You're actually not in your bedroom. I don't want to see your juicy sweats. I don't want to see your slippers. I don't want to see your pillow from home. You're in public, so like,
Yeah.
have some respect for the other people around you, you know, and for the people that work there. Like, don't take your shoes off, or if you take your shoes off, keep your socks on.
Yeah. That's.
You ever see
true.
people go to the bathroom just in their socks? It's
Disgusting.
It's like that's still a
Yeah,
bathroom.
that's a gnarly
Yeah.
move.
Put on a suit, light up a cigarette like they used to do in the old days, and respect the fucking flight.
Order the prawns.
But in a way, you know, like I say that, like, care about what you look like before you leave the house. It's not just like a criticism of people being too casual or something. It's like a way to make the world more beautiful. If everyone cares about that more, then the whole world gets more beautiful.
Absolutely.
I don't know. And it's good for people's self-esteem.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of times I see people wearing some super baggy t-shirt and like whatever, and you're like, oh, you're just you're afraid to show your body. You're hiding in that giant baggy t-shirt. Like, isn't there a way to like celebrate yourself? Like, wear something that you do feel comfortable in, that does celebrate who you are. Like, I'm on a big humanist mission here, guys.
We feel
Everything
it.
that I do these days is
Us
about
too.
trying to
Us
create empathy and trying to create beauty and trying to create joy. Like, that's the only way out of the mess that
Yeah.
we're in out there right now.
Well, you are certainly doing your part with the new album, What's Not to Love, which is out on June 13th.
Mr. Romantic, what's not to
Mr.
love?
Romantic,
that
What's
shit.
Not to Love. Stream it. Buy the CD. What do you want?
Yeah.
What do you want people to do?
See you live.
There's a beautiful vinyl
Get the
version
physical
of it coming
media.
out that Third Man Pressing made for
Ooh,
us.
shout
It's
out fucking
gorgeous.
Jack White.
Yeah, shout out Jack
Gorgeous
White, Dennis
vinyl.
Smashville. All right, John C. Reilly, thank you for coming on to the only podcast.
You're a
Matters. We
legend.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Jeff, take us out.